What is up, Nickel City Mafia? On the eve of training camp, the first opening day at John Fisher University for the Buffalo Bills. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Jake Podger. But we got a special guest. 1 a.m. in the morning from Ireland, Mayo County in Ireland, is joining us tonight is Trevor, part of the Irish Bills Mafia. We greatly appreciate you joining us, Trevor. How you doing, sir?
Hello, Mike, and hello, Jake. And it's very nice to meet you too and be part of your show. It's late here, but I'm looking forward to having a good chat with you.
So listen, I know Trevor has been working hard on getting his podcast going. Would you start about 2 months ago, Trevor, that you started up 2-3 months ago?
About that, yeah.
Yeah, so he's been working hard. And after the show, in the description of this video is the link to his channel. He's getting close to 100. That's a huge milestone. It took Jake and I a long time to get to 100 subscribers. So let's help him get over that edge. So click that link, go smash his subscribe button, and greatly appreciate it. Show some love for the Irish, because every subscription will inspire a leprechaun to bring good fortune to the Bills and help us get the Super Bowl this season. So let's get him over that 100 sub mark. Trevor, I have to ask you this. You know, I'm Irish. Last name's Thornton, probably representing it there. And I was going to use this term, but then I started reading that it's considered offensive. And I wanted to ask you, is the term luck of the Irish considered offensive in Ireland?
No, it wouldn't be. Not over here. We're very proud to be Irish. And yes, sometimes the teams we follow don't have the luck. But if someone said to you, well, the Bills would win the Super Bowl and you'd have the luck of the Irish with you, well, I'd take that.
All right, well, good. I'm glad I can use it then, because that's what I was going to use instead of the leprechaun, but I didn't want to offend anyone until I asked you. So yes, smash that subscribe button over on Trevor's channel, and let's bring the luck of the Irish to the Buffalo Bills this year. And Jake, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Really excited to be joined here by Trevor. When you told me that we were getting an Irishman on the show, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I mean, Mike's Irish. But then you said, like, legit from Ireland. I said, that's freaking awesome. So, Trevor, I checked out some of your videos, man. I know you've been working hard. You've been putting out some content, and I encourage everyone to go over and check out your channel. I think you're doing a fantastic job. Also, I love your backdrop, by the way. Is this in the man cave? Where is this located?
Yeah, this is my little corner of the shed behind me.
Oh, beautiful.
It's well done. It's the place I go to do my videos, and when I come out here to review my NFL stuff and Bills stuff for the week, it's my little quiet place. So I have my little corner. I'm happy.
Every man needs his own little corner. I couldn't agree more. And let me just say, the background picture, what do we got there? We got Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. That's beautiful. And then a Bills Mafia flag, which I actually had the same flag. So I am proud to share that with you, as is the rest of Bills Mafia. So fantastic, man. Just love to see it. And welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. I very much appreciate it to be with you.
Absolutely. I'm surprised Trevor isn't sporting one of his jerseys. He's got a few jerseys, right? A few Bills jerseys. Jake's a big jersey collector as well. How many jerseys you got, Trevor?
I have about 8 or 9 Bills jerseys. I have one more coming.
Wow.
And I have all 32 teams of the NFL.
Whoa, okay.
Really?
Now that intrigues me as well. So growing up, my goal was to get a jersey of every single NFL team. I'm not there yet. The only jerseys I'm missing players of are the Patriots and the Dolphins. I do have a Jets jersey, which Mike has encouraged me to burn several times, but he's retired. It's a Jonathan Vilma jersey. And by the way, I bought it at like Marshall's or something. You know, Jonathan Vilma, good linebacker. Got to pay my respect where it's due. So, yeah, that's pretty awesome. I would love to hear the list of players at another time, because I know right now, obviously, we want to talk Bills football, but that sounds fascinating to me, and would love to chop it up with you off camera here a little bit about that.
Yeah,
no problem.
Definitely. So, Trevor, let's get into it. I mean, let's talk, I've heard the story, but share the story with the rest of the folks here. How you became a Bills fan?
Well, how I became a Bills fan was it's a long journey, but back in the 90s, when I first was seen in American football, like where I live is rural Ireland, and we only used to have 2 TV stations for a long time, so you wouldn't see a lot of outside Irish stuff. You might see a bit of English stuff, but very little American stuff. And back in the 90s, they brought in American football, and I fell in love with it straight away. And I had cousins that lived in New York, so head down, I'll say this, for a little while I was a Jets fan, but because they were green and white and didn't know any different. And then my cousins moved to Colorado, so I got into it a little bit more, and I became a Broncos fan. I love John Elway. He was an amazing quarterback. He had a lot of heartache in Super Bowls, but he did get his rings, and he deserved them. And then sort of American football disappeared off the telly for a while. And it was maybe into the 2000s before Sky, they're sort of like a relation of Fox over there. They started bringing it back into the houses again here in Ireland and England, and slowly but surely it took off. So I would watch all the Super Bowls. I didn't really have a team, but it would have been on so late, and I was working a different shift at the time. I was working night shift at the time, so you wouldn't see an awful lot of it. You'd be at the weekends, you'd be trying to get your body back to normal. So when the games were on, you really had no interest. But there, about 3 or 4 years ago, I changed my shift. I'm working weekends now. It does affect the Sunday night games when I'm working nights, but I do record them and then watch them again on a Monday. But I decided I wanted to get into it full time. So I had a scout around, and one of the teams I liked in the 90s was the Cleveland Browns. And because they went out of business for a few years, or were out of the NFL for a few years, it sort of fascinated me why they could be dropped or why they were dropped and then brought back in again. So I decided to become a Browns fan, and Baker Mayfield was the quarterback, and he had a brilliant season in 2020, I think it was. And then in 2021, he got injured, and he played through his injury. Now, to be honest, it was the worst thing he could have done, but he did it, and he had an awful end to the season. And listening to their podcasts and stuff, they were always calling for him to be changed, and I didn't think it would happen. There was other people saying, well, get him his operation and see how it goes, and maybe he'll come back and be the Baker of 2020. But eventually they decided to go for Deshaun Watson. And the second there was a hint of him coming to Cleveland, regardless if he wins Cleveland 5 or 10 Super Bowls, I couldn't care less, because of his off-the-field agenda. And I'm not here to say it was right or wrong, or he's guilty or innocent, but for me, that was enough for me to say, I'm out. So I shopped around. I still have good Cleveland Browns friends on Twitter, and I was looking. I said, I want to pick a team that has morals like myself, and they don't have to win everything. They don't have to be the best team in the league, but they have the want to be the best team in the league. And I remember watching the 13-second game, which we call it now, between Kansas and the Bills. And the one man that stood out that night for me was Josh Allen. I know we didn't win it, but he was the guy that stood out. And the way you seen videos afterwards of him pumping the team up, getting lads going, telling them concentrating, that's a leader, and that's a guy I would follow. So I decided I was going to become a Bills fan, and I'm happy I became a Bills fan, because if we win the Super Bowl, brilliant. If we don't win the Super Bowl, we'll die with our shoes on, and that's all you can ask for. And when you have Josh Allen there, you don't want any more. And that's how I became a Bills fan.
You are firing me up with these words right now, Trevor. And listen, I think, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh no, he might jump ship in 2 years, but you can't jump ship. I mean, you painted your wall, you got the pictures behind you. It would just be too much work to do so.
Oh yeah. I've never gone into it the way I've gone into it now. Like, this is the own design here. This is Irish Bills Mafia. I'm here to promote the Irish Bills, the Buffalo Bills in Ireland. I'm all in. Like, I'm not looking to become famous. I'm not looking to be on the piggyback of someone else's coattails or whatever, just to get there. I just want people in Ireland to jump on with the Bills, because I know from my Twitter experience with the Bills fans. They're brilliant. And my first ever American football game was last August. It was the college game. It was in the Aviva Stadium. It was Northwestern versus Nebraska. Mm-hmm. And when I was up there, there was 40,000 people at the game, 45,000 people. And I met 2 Bills fans. That was it. I had my Bills jersey on, and one of them said to me, he said, I thought I was going to be here on my own. But he says, at least there's somebody else.
Oh, I love it.
And it's a shame there's only a few Bills fans. Like, the Patriots had the best boom years, we say, between the 2000s and 2020. And because of that, that's when the football from the Sky Network here took off. That's where a lot of the fans are, and including my own brother. So, but
it's a family. It's essentially a family divided. And you know what? I love your origin story of becoming a Bills fan. I love that you picked that 13-second game. And, we were talking, we had a guy on last show who was a coach, and he had an experience where he was able to actually ride and drive with Sean McDermott back home from the airport. I don't know if you caught that show or not, but he was fantastic. One of the things he mentioned, it was Sean McDermott's quote, humble and hungry. And I think you really just kind of shed light on that a little bit with how the Bills are. We're always that humble and hungry franchise. And I think that's what draws a lot of people to loving them so much. So I really appreciate, hearing your side of things. And man, what an embodiment of that term. I freaking love it.
Yeah. You have to be humble in life, because if you go around with a big head on you or thinking you're better than you are, you're going to fall. The second bit of Sean McDermott's statement is 100% correct. You have to be hungry. If you're playing that game, you want to win.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I love your values, Trevor. I mean, sticking to your guns when they signed Deshaun Watson. I did feel Baker got a bad deal there. Like you said, he played through that injury. He was tough, man. He was tough. He battled through it, and you're right. I think he got the raw end of the deal there. But, hey, I'm glad you're over here on the Bills. Like Jake said, hopefully this is your final stop, and you stick it out with us until, look, I've been a fan for as long as I can remember, around 50-ish years that I can remember, and I'm still waiting to bring home that trophy. So you joined at the right time, because I think we're going to get that in the near future, and you'll be able to celebrate with us. I did want to ask you, I think you already answered the question. I know you talked about you're going to the Jaguar game this year against the Bills, right?
I am, yes. I mate of mine that works for PFI Ireland, Pro Football Ireland here. They do look after all the NFL in mainstream in Ireland here. He put me in a line with someone to get a ticket for the game. It was a bit dearer than the ordinary tickets, but it's my first ever Buffalo Bills game. I hope it not to be my last. I cannot wait. It's in October. I just want to see what the NFL is like in real life. I know what it's like watching on videos, and I do see High Mark and the pictures that come in on Twitter from the games and people, at the tailgates and all that. And I just want to see what it's like in real life. And it's going to be a great game. Like the Jaguars, they're an up and coming team. And, we have a very tough schedule this year, but it's a schedule I would rather have than have easy games. And when you get to the playoffs, then have to, not be used to playing hard, tough games. And it'll be a tough game. I'm looking forward to it.
So this is your first NFL game, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so cool. Now, you do know, I don't know if you watched our show, you do know Andre Reed is going to be in the area, right? He's coming to London as well, taking a bunch of Bills Mafia with him. Jake, we need to reach out to the Big Game Travel and see if we can get some of those little party spots that they're going to have, and Trevor can crash the bar wherever they're going to hang out at, right? So
that's for sure.
Get you to meet Andre Reed. I do want to say hi to some of the folks in the channel because they have some comments for you, Trevor. Troy, one of my best friends for many, many years. He says, good to see Trevor on the show. He wants to see your Dolphins jersey. Do you have a Dolphins jersey?
I have a Dolphins jersey. I actually have 2 Dolphins jerseys. One I got, must be about 5 or 6 years ago. And then last year when Tua got injured, put all rivalry aside, I do not want to see any player get injured no more than anyone else does. And as respect for Tua, I got the Tua jersey. It's the home green one. I have them all in my wardrobe. But unfortunately, I'm in the shed, so I cannot go and get it now. But if you go onto my Twitter page on Bills_Irish, I have a picture. It's a pinned tweet in that one where you will see all 32 jerseys on me.
Oh, that is awesome. You put them all on you at once?
I have a baseball cap and jersey of every team. So,
wow.
Who's the second one? You said you had 2 Dolphin jerseys.
He's the quarterback for the Titans now. What's his name?
Oh, Ryan Tannehill.
Tannehill, yeah.
I thought you were going to say Dan Marino. I thought you were going to go way back.
Oh, no. No, I got it at the time. I collect soccer jerseys too. I have stopped that since I've gone into the NFL a lot bigger. But I just like to, when I'm into something, I like to experience what it's like, and they're all nice jerseys in their own way. In America, it's your sport, if you know what I'm saying to you, because the teams are from where you're from. Where in Ireland, it's a sport coming to Ireland, so there's no set. To me, I don't know what the rivalries are really like. You see, there's obnoxious fans from every team. Sadly, the Bills will have some somewhere, but you hope to have less than others. But every team will have their good fans, and every team will have their bad fans. So before I really got into it, I had a good few of the jerseys. I had Drew Brees got. I had 2 or 3 Los Angeles Rams jerseys got. But they're from years gone past. But I decided then, when I got into it right, and I have my collection of Buffalo Bills jerseys, I said I'd finish the collection to have one of every team. And I did not go for a Tom Brady Patriots jersey. I went for just one that you could wear without getting too much hassle about if you ever put it on you. It was Cam Newton.
Oh, okay. Very nice. I like it. Yeah.
We got Brett from Go Bills Podcast. Good to see you out there, Brett. He says, a new accent on Nickel City Mafia. I love it. And then he said, everything this guy says is brilliant because of your accent, Trevor. You just have like the coolest accent.
It is brilliant.
The Irish accent's wonderful. And then Troy's chiming back in saying, I have a Tannehill jersey as well. I love it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you follow up on that. So I watching a couple of your videos. You talked about how the Steelers and the Jaguars have the most market share in Ireland as far as fan base. How are they able to do that, and how do we get the Buffalo Bills to get more of that market share there?
Well, for what I can gather, was earlier this year they went and purchased the market share from the NFL. I think there was Germany, Spain, France, England, and Ireland, or the UK and Ireland, where there was a certain market share to be put out there, and certain teams went for it. So the Jaguars are already in the UK, but they've come into the Irish market, and themselves and the Pittsburgh Steelers have the rights to the Irish market for the next 5 years. And the Jaguars are still, they're in Ireland, but they're not pushing themselves as hard as the Steelers are. And the Steelers owner, they have Irish roots, and they were here before, back in the late 90s, and they played the game here, and they're back again now. And if the rumor mills are to be true, not next year, but maybe the year or two after, 24, 25, maybe 26, they're on for playing an NFL game here in Ireland. And we have the stadium for it. It's called Crow Park, and it'll hold 83,000 people, and they'll fill it, no bother. And it's great for the Steelers, because in their eyes, they're going into an untapped market. But it's a pity for the Bills that they didn't go it. Now, from what I can gather, the Bills haven't gone into any of the markets in Europe. But it's a pity that they didn't come into the Irish market. There might be more than 3 or 4 of us knocking around at a match with Bills jerseys on.
So let's go a little deeper on that. So you're saying they have acquired some rights, and what are they doing? Like, you just see them on like a lot of commercials, or how are they pushing their team?
They're on for bringing over some players. I don't know if it's before the start of this season or if it's going to be before the start of next season, and doing camps over here. And they're looking for players as well, like people like there isn't many Irish NFL players or players in the Canadian League or that XFL or stuff, but there's 1 or 2 making their way, because especially at kicking, because the game of football we have here requires a lot of kicking, and it's a heavy ball. So if you can kick that a good distance, you'll kick in American football an extra 5 or 10, maybe 15 yards. So and also they play rugby here, and a lot of the rugby kickers would be fairly similar to the NFL ball. I know it sharpens the bitting at the end a bit more, but the general shape of the ball is much the same. And teams are coming over scouting these kickers, and 1 or 2 of them have been brought over for trials, and 1 or 2 of them have made it. And they just want to get into the market first. I presume they'll want to sell jerseys. They'll want to get people following the Steelers and pushing it that way. And then if they feel the time is right, then to bring over an NFL game. Now, I don't know whether they'll bring a preseason game first, if they do, and then go for a regular season game the year after, or will they just go straight for a regular season game? But we, like here in Ireland, they have the Aviva Stadium in Dublin, which will hold, that's where the college games are last year and this year, and they'll hold 50-ish thousand. And then the Croke Park will hold 83,000 full.
Wow. That'd be a nice, because Buffalo holds around 80,000, Jake, the current stadium, slightly
as
under?
of right now, but it's about to be down in the low 60s. It'll be 63,000, I believe, once the new stadium comes up. Trevor, just wanted to throw something out there, too. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this name. Neil O'Donoghue. He was drafted in 1977 by yours truly, your team, the Buffalo Bills. He was a kicker. He's from Dublin, Ireland. He was drafted in the 5th round of the 1977 NFL draft. So if there's another jersey you should get, I just wanted to look this up because I was curious, and I actually didn't know this. So, yeah, if there's another jersey to get, might have to be a custom one, but Neil O'Donoghue.
O'Donoghue, well, it'll be one I'll look into.
Yes.
So, well.
He only played 1 year with the Bills, and statistically, not so great. He went 2 for 6. 2 for 6 on field goals, and he went 4 for 5 on extra points. But he actually had a pretty long NFL career. Ended up going to Tampa Bay and then the St. Louis Cardinals after that. Played from 77 to 85. So pretty good. He's probably one of the most well-known Irish football players to be born in Ireland.
Yeah, it's good to know that. Here now at the minute, it's with the training camps on and all watching all the players, you'd be wondering, is there any Irish guys going to make it or whatever? But to know that someone has back in the 70s, it's good to know, especially for the Bills.
Yeah. And by the way, most people probably will think, oh, well, kickers, because it's more natural. You guys, well known for your soccer, well known for your Irish football. A lot of games that involve kicking the football or kicking the ball of sorts.
Yeah.
But the only kicker to really play in the NFL, otherwise, it looks like we have a tackle, we have a linebacker, we have a guard, we have an end. That was the only kicker on the list. So very interesting to note. I just wanted to look that up and shed light on that. That's all. Sorry to change the subject a little bit. Just had to get that out there because otherwise I would have forgotten.
No, that's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Every bit of information, it's valuable.
Absolutely.
So, Brett from the Go Bills podcast, come on, Brett. Not every Irish person is a big drinker. I know my dad and my grandfather are or were. But Trevor, I'm just envisioning, so you're in the minority. You're the Bills fan. There's a lot of Steeler fans. There's a lot of Jaguar fans. Is there like a local pub that you go watch games at and you're kind of fighting with these other fans? Or what's it like out there on game day? Or are you just all watching it from home?
Where I'm from, there's no place that I know of in Westport or Castlebar, that'd be the two big towns in Mayo, that there's an NFL bar. But to disappoint you, I don't drink. So
see,
good for you.
I don't either. So there you go.
So
I drink enough for all three of us, so that's okay.
No bother. But I just like to watch it at home, just to go into the sitting room, put on my TV, and watch the games. And last year, luckily, I seen most of the Bills games. Between work and whatever, it just happened they fell on the right time for me. So, and this year now, going to get to go to a Bills game is going to be, for me, priceless. So I cannot wait.
Absolutely. And that should be such a good game, too. I mean, you talk about the Jags as an up-and-coming team. I think it's going to be a very good matchup. The last time the Bills played the Jags in London, we had E.J. Manuel at the quarterback position. So this will be a lot better, hopefully, this time around. We actually lost that game, too. So looking forward to a good matchup.
Oh, yeah, look, they're the games, like a lot of people are saying about how great Kansas City are, and Kansas City are the Super Bowl champions, and they deserve to be in fair play to them. But if you go back to last season, before we went on our bye week, we played the Kansas City Chiefs, and we bet them in their home stadium, fair and square, as good a game you see anywhere. And things went downhill for us with numerous different weather, different issues, especially once the DeMar incident happened. That was the end of the season for me. As long as he was okay, I didn't care what happened. But they're the games you want to play. You want to be playing the Kansas City Chiefs, the Jags, if they're on the way up, you want to be playing them, Joe Burrow, all these guys, because yes, you want to beat them in the playoffs, but playing them regular season, it gets me excited, because you're playing the best teams. If you're playing, and no disrespect, they'll do okay, but if you're playing the Commanders all the time, or you're playing the Falcons all the time, right, and you're beating them by 20 or 30 points, it's brilliant when it happens, but it's no good to you. You want them tight games and to get out of
them. It's well said.
Trevor, can you share that story that you shared with Jake and I before going live, kind of the curse story of your Mayo football team there? Because it's similar to the Bills curse. There is a curse in Buffalo. We know this, going through all the heartbreaks that we've gone through. Can you share that story?
I can, surely. So in Ireland, we call it the All-Ireland Championship, where it would be, in Americans' terms, the Super Bowl. And in football, Mayo won the last All-Ireland in 1951. Now, as the story goes, when they were on the way home celebrating winning the All-Ireland, they passed a funeral, and they must have been celebrating passing the funeral. I don't know. Anyway, they got a curse put on them that until the last member died of that panel, Mayo would never win an All-Ireland again. And I just we didn't get to an All-Ireland final again until 1989. And we lost that by 3 points. So that was fine. We didn't get to another one again until 1996. But in 1996, we were a point up with a injury time been played. And the team we were playing, Meath, kicked a ball in and it bounced over the bar. And now this never happens in football. And Meath went on to win the replay. So in 96, Mayo lost the All-Ireland final to a replay. In 97, Mayo lost the All-Ireland final. In 04, in 06, in 2012, 2013, they lost by a point. In 2016, they lost on a replay. In 2017, they lost by a point. In 2020, they lost. In 2021, they lost.
Oh my goodness, that's more heartbreak than even the Bills right there, I think. I don't know.
And all by a handful of scores.
Oh my God.
Oh my Lord.
That's torture. I mean, it just shows, just don't party around a funeral. That's just bad karma. I mean, they had it coming to them for sure. We're not quite sure what the Bills curse has come from. I mean, there's a lot of rumors out there, like because we used the Buffalo mascot, I know maybe some people have said that Ralph Wilson made a deal with the devil back in the day. I don't know what's happened, but we need to break this curse. And Trevor, hopefully this year your team breaks the curse and our team breaks the curse. And you were saying that just recently the last person on that team passed away. Was it this year?
It was this year, yeah. Not so long ago. But our season is over for this year. It wasn't to be, it just didn't happen. But I think, unlike Buffalo, where my Mayo team is, they're in a rebuilding process. So I don't, like, when you've taken the lads that were there from 2012 to 2021, they went through an awful lot of heartbreak, an awful lot of happy days to get to the finals, but an awful lot of heartbreak in the finals. And they're now just moving aside. So the next crop are starting to come in. So I don't think we'll be knocking on the door for another 2 or 3 years. But for me, I personally didn't believe in the curse. It's just whether on the day you want it bad enough or you're good enough to win it. Sometimes things happen in the games. They happen in all sports. But no one can use the curse from now on. Lord have mercy on the dead, and I hope they're all in heaven, and I hope the curse is gone if it's gone and it was real. But for me, if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way to get that something. And now people can leave the curse aside here in Mayo and round Ireland. They can't be saying anything about the curse anymore. It's gone. And if we're good enough to win something, we'll be good enough to win. And if we're not, well, then we have to pick ourselves up, learn, and move on.
Yep, no more
now,
curse.
do you have season tickets to those games?
When I was working on night shift, I used to go to all their games. But on working weekend shifts now, I go to some of the games during the summer.
Okay.
But for all them All Ireland finals, bar 2020 and 2021, I was at the rest of them, and I left Croke Park a good few times a broken man.
I'm sure. Well, let's make a deal. So you're going to stay a Bills Mafia fan. You're going to stay a Bills fan.
Oh, 100%.
You have just gained a new Mayo fan, and I'm going to start
Yes.
following them because I am very interested in some Gaelic football.
Yeah, it's a brilliant sport. If you ever get to watch the 2017 All Ireland final, Mayo played Dublin. Now, we lost by a point, but it's the finest game of football you could ever watch. It had everything. And there was spills from both sides. There was great scores. There was bad decisions, everything. But I left that day broken because we lost, but happy that I was seeing one of the best games of football that I can ever imagine watching.
It's like the 13-second game, right?
It is, yeah. It's a bittersweet game.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'll have to check that out and then maybe look into a jersey as well. What's the color? Is it green?
green and red.
Green
with the red.
I'm looking
stripe.
it up right now. This is fantastic, man. I'm here for it. You like I said, you just gained a new fan and the Mayo.
Fair play, Jake. Brilliant.
Excited.
So before we get into some camp talk, I have to ask you, because I love your optimism, but with the AFC East being so good, with the AFC being so good, and with the difficult schedule that the Bills have, you have predicted the Bills to go 16-1 on the year. I want that to happen. I really do. But what makes you think they can get there, Trevor?
Because going off last year, watching all other shows, and I do listen to Joe Marino at Locked On Bills, and yes, he talks a lot of facts and stats and stuff like that, but he sort of got carried away that people were making the Buffalo Bills favourites and that their squad was improving all the time, and it last year was going to be their year, and for whatever reasons, between injuries, the weather, with what happened to Mar, all that kind of stuff, it didn't happen. But nobody is talking about us now. Like, if you look at the ratings, we're down to number 4 in the NFL. I was just looking at a rating tonight, the 32 teams listed, and the Bills are number 4, and 2 of them teams above them is AFC teams, and the Bengals and the Chiefs, and then the Eagles. And listening again to Joe Marino on the players that have come in, he he thinks, and I do think, that we're a better team this year than we were last year. Like, we've got 2 tight ends now. If Dalton Kincaid produces what we hope he can produce, he will take an awful lot off Dawson Knox to, pressure off him to give them another option. And if Gabe Davis can up his game to what he had 2 years ago, again, it takes pressure off Stephon Diggs, and then they might have to mark Gabe Davis a lot more and leave Stephon Diggs open, or vice versa. When they have the 2 tight ends in, they have 2 guys to throw to rather than 1. And again, it'll set up the other team's defense a lot different. We had our 2 running backs in James Cook and Naheem Hines. I know we have other backups. I know Naheem got injured. But if we could bring in another running back, I'd love to say Dalvin Cook, but or even Ezekiel Elliott, if he's fit enough, just to put the fear of God into teams that they don't know whether we're going to run or pass or what, and it makes them think more, and it might give us better options and take a lot of pressure off Josh Allen. And I wouldn't change Josh Allen's game, but if he can run when he wants to, if they're looking at other guys, they're not going to be looking at Josh. Or if you're set up as a defense and you've only got 1 tight end that's you're going to throw the ball to watch, then you can say, all right, double mark Stephon Diggs or double mark Gabe Davis or whatever. Whereas if they're all in play, you can't do that, And I think the pressure is off us this year, and I think we are a better team. And with that, I think we have something to prove. And looking at Josh Allen last year when he was interviewed after every game was, it's only a game, we go to the next one. It's only a game, we go to the next one. And sometimes you need to he was a bit too uptight. If he could just relax, enjoy the wins, not get cocky or big-headed about it, but, yes, we're going to the next one, but we had a good win there. Because Mahomes and Burrow apparently are the 2 quarterbacks in the AFC. And yes, they're brilliant, but I don't see I kind of separate any of the 3 of them because they all have pluses and minuses in different ways. And people are not looking at Josh Allen. They're not talking about Josh Allen the same way I believe they should be. And I think we're going under the radar. And when we played the first segment of games last year before the bye after the Kansas City game, we were very impressive. We lost to the Dolphins, and on that day, you could say it was the heat played an awful role in that defeat. It wasn't the Dolphins beating us; it was the temperatures and how tired players were. And fair play to the Dolphins; they played their pitch perfectly. They had the shady side but the opposition on the hot side. You do these things, but on another day, with the possession we had in that game, we'd have blown them off the pitch and off the field. We had so much domination that day. So I think if we get into that rhythm again this year, I don't see. I have us down losing to the Bengals. I didn't want to put in a 17-0. Yes, the Bengals are the team that scares me most out of the 16 or 17 games we have to play, because we need to beat them before they become an issue in our head, if you know what I'm saying. It's not that they're better than us, but if we don't beat them soon, you'll go, we lost them again and we lost them again. That we need to beat them and just put that to bed. And maybe there's blinkers in front of my eyes for some of them games. Like everyone has that I've been reading or over the side has the Jets beating us in game week 1, but like we've got Josh Allen. Aaron Rodgers last year was a patch on the Aaron Rodgers he was when he was in his prime, and he threw his toys out of the pram. And if the Jets hit a wobble like that, he'll throw his toys out of the pram again this year.
I love it. So I hope it's 16-1. I know Jake and I would love that. And I love your passion and good explanation on why you think they could get there. Jake, do you have any other questions before we get into some camp notes for Trevor?
I think Trevor's got me sold on 16-1. So we did our schedule prediction show, Trevor, and I said 13-4. And, you brought up a really good point about talking about winning the close games and how you mentioned, we played a lot of close ones last year. You mentioned that Dolphins game. We really did, as you put it, we blew them right off the pitch. I was at that game down in Miami, and it was hot as hell. And you look statistically, and if you watch the game in general, it was clear cut that we totally outplayed them. But the Dolphins made plays when it mattered, and they were able to kind of weather the storm, and they took a ton of punches, but at the end of it, they came out winning that game just because they were able to play that bend, don't break defense. And you look at all of our losses last year. That Dolphins game was by 2. We lost the Jets game. I think that was by 3. And then the Vikings game, that was also by 3. Those were only 3 losses last year. So when you look at it, our combined losses were by a grand total of 8 points. That's unbelievable. And of course, the Bengals game that got canceled, you don't know what was going to happen there. Obviously, the Bengals had a lead as that game was unfortunately ended due to the circumstances. But, I think you talk about going 16-1. A lot of people are very quick to write that off. But you look at last season, we could have very well have been a 16-1 team. Just based on that alone, the close losses, we win those games. That Vikings game should not have been a loss. The Dolphins game should not have been a loss. And I'd argue that Jets game also shouldn't have been a loss. So Gabe Davis, if he catches that ball on Josh Allen's adrenaline throw where he has a torn UCL, that's a total game changer right there. So, I think a lot of people will say hey, 16-1, that's impossible. But I don't think it's as impossible as a lot of people think. So, hey, let's jump on that bandwagon. Let's switch that prediction from 13-4 to 16-1. That's what I'm trying to say right now.
Well, I agree with you because you take the Jefferson catch, all that had to be done was knock that ball to the ground. The game was over. Didn't have to go catch the ball with him, just break it down. And we made an awful lot of mistakes in that game to hand the game basically to Minnesota. The Jets game, you had an injured Josh Allen. And as you said, Gabe Davis should have caught that last ball.
Yep.
And then the Dolphins was the heat. And it could have been. And for me, the most important thing for the Buffalo Bills for the first part of this year is be number 1 seed after 17 games in the AFC. Because you get that week off. And I think if we had that week off last year, and we were the number 1 seed. Now, as I said, if the DeMar incident didn't happen and it had played out as an ordinary season, we would have been in better shape going into them playoffs.
I agree.
With the DeMar incident, we were on adrenaline after that because the weekend after that was the Patriots. And DeMar had just woke up and everything was good, thank God. And thank God he's back on the field. And that was all passion and adrenaline. But at some stage, that adrenaline will run out because you would have gone from such a low from one of your teammates almost dying. And whether not wondering would he live or be okay or how would he be after it or whatever, then you'd get up to such a high that it would be so hard to keep that high because you were at such a low. Whereas if you're at an ordinary season going straight through game after game, your emotions are sort of similar all the way through. But when you were down so deep and down so low and all them players and management and coach and staff members and all that would have been down there, yes, they got to the high of the Patriots, but if you watch the games afterwards, we were not getting to that height anymore. We're sort of taking a step down. And when we met the Bengals were ready. Their emotions were right. They hadn't to deal with the emotions. They had to watch the game, but after that, it was away from them. So they could get back into their zone, where our emotions would have gone from so low to so high, and we just tired at the end. And and in a way, I want the Super Bowl to be won as much as any other fan, but in a way, last year for me, after the DeMar incident, was more about DeMar being okay than about Buffalo winning the Super Bowl.
I would second that. I think most of the fan base would agree with you on that too. So no, that's very well put. And hey, speaking of DeMar, I know Mike, we wanted to get into a little bit of training camp talk. How about the standing ovation that young man got today at training camp from the fans? I mean, I don't know if you saw the clip of it, but it was a special moment for sure, to say the least. And it is amazing that guy literally died on a football field, and now he's back, cleared, ready to go, and he's practicing at training camp. It's unbelievable.
Oh, it's brilliant. I was just seeing it on Total Access before it came out, and it's amazing that he's there, which is from where he was. It's amazing that he's ready to go, and I'm so thankful and grateful as a Bills fan that he is. I have my DeMar Hamlin jersey. I got
Nice.
it like that after the incident, and it'll be worn a few times during the season because he's a super player. I was reading there the last day that he's supposed to be bigger and fitter than he was, stronger than he was before, which is a great thing. He's looked after himself, and all I want for him is to go out and play the football he can and enjoy it, every second of it, and not have to worry about anything happening.
If he even plays a down, which I'm assuming he will, if he plays one down this season, I think he is a surefire shoe-in for the Comeback Player of the Year award. I mean, no one else is touching that award this year, right? I mean, it's got to be DeMar Hamlin, right?
Oh, 100%. Like, you look at where his life was to where it is now, and then he gets back on a field. You playing tough American football, playing in the NFL after where he was. Like, no disrespect to anyone else, you couldn't but give it to him.
Right.
All right, I agree. And by the way, he mentioned Cam Lewis being the fault of that Minnesota game, and I always got to come to Cam's defense. Remember, Josh Allen took a snap at the goal line. All he had to do was the most fundamental play, get that snap, and they fumbled it at the goal line, and it was recovered for a touchdown.
Oh, I remember that too. Oh, there was lots of mistakes. But in the point of the game, if he had just put his, as we would call it in Gaelic football, put his fist through the ball and knocked it out of play, that was him gone. But look at all games are won by other people's mistakes. If you didn't have mistakes or errors, you wouldn't have any scores, be it in Irish football, soccer, American football, any sport. So the most important thing is from the mistakes you learn from. And that's what we have to do this year.
Yep, for sure. So listen, guys, I'm going to rattle through some camp updates that I have, and then I'll go to each of you. And if you want to talk on certain topics that I run through here, fantastic. If you have additional things, like I did not see the DeMar Hamlin standing ovation, so that's great that you brought that up, Jake. I'll definitely going to check that out. So let me run through the updates that I have. So, of course, camp's open to the public. First day of training camp today at John Fisher University. No pads on. I believe the pads come on this Sunday. So that's when it gets real. And it's funny to me to hear all these headlines where people are just getting so excited when there's no pads on. But hey, it's the first time people are seeing football in a long time. So there was a lot of focus on red zone offense, using those tight ends. The Bills are focused on doing a much better job in the red zone. I mean, it's not just good enough to get to the red zone. Let's finish the job and get it into the end zone. So they focus a lot on that today. Involved the tight ends quite a bit, including Dalton Kincaid, which we love to hear. I mean, you already mentioned the Nyheim Hines injury. By the way, probably most people have heard it. It's been all over. But he was in a freak jet ski accident, just sitting there on his jet ski, and somebody collides with him, runs into him, and injures his knee. He's out for the year. Just a sad thing. Hopefully he's okay and he'll be able to return at some point in time and get back with his career. But you had mentioned you were concerned about the running back situation. I'm not so concerned because Damian Harris from the New England is a fantastic running back and also Latavius Murray that we have. And then we have Gilliam as a fullback, but they also brought someone in, Jake, I can't remember who the name was.
Darrington Evans.
Yeah.
So he will essentially be taking Nyheim Hines' role. That's what I'm assuming here.
Yeah.
He's a little bit, actually, in terms of size, he's 5'10", 203, really fast back. and he was drafted in the 3rd round actually by the Titans to be Derrick Henry's backup. It hasn't really put up quite the numbers that you would expect from a 3rd round pick. He's been, I think, a little banged up as well, but from what I understand, he is going to be taking that more of a return man role, similar to what Nyheim Hines was doing for us.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well. And then, a little bit of sad news for us, Jake. And I guess Bean has made it clear that Dorian Williams will not be getting it to start at that middle linebacker. They're kind of pulling him away from that, feeling it's a little too much for him coming from Tulane, and then the demands that a middle linebacker has in the NFL. So basically, it's between Dotson, Bernard Spector, and AJ Klein, and Dotson is the front runner, and that continues.
He had a strong day, apparently.
Yeah, we heard that early on. That continues to be the case. And Dotson, he's 6 foot, 240. We should have been talking about him a lot more. We really should, and we're going to start profiling him a little bit more because he is the front runner there. Von Miller, he's there. He's on the PUP list. But he's progressing well. They're being extremely cautious, which is what we expected, right? With Von Miller saying he's going to be back week 1, no way did I expect that. I still don't expect it. Take your time, Von. And even I think Bean said that they're just going to make sure he's absolutely ready to go. I'd rather him be ready towards the middle of the year, towards the end, for that big run. Christian Benford getting some buzz again. Today at camp, making some good plays. I think he had an interception or something like that. But again, the Benford, Kyer Elam, that story from last year spills over to this year. So, hey, I'll tell you what, Benford is very impressive. And whether he's the starting cornerback 2 or he gets some safety play this year, because we thought he'd get some safety play. But right now he's challenging for that cornerback number 2 once again, Jake. We'll circle back around on that one because I know that's interesting. Diggs did talk to the press, and he basically said, look, I've got more football behind me than I do in front of me. And, what it boils down to is we already know this. He wants to win. He wasn't happy with how the offense was progressing last year when it mattered, whether it was him not getting the ball or just the offense in general, because it did seem like opposing defenses figured the Bills out and they weren't making adjustments. So I get his passion. We know he's passionate about winning. I still don't like maybe how he handled it, but hey, McDermott has an open door policy, and he used that open door policy. He went in there and talked things, just got everything off his chest. I do wish they would have figured that out during the offseason, right? It's like, why do you have to wait till day 1 of OTAs? But anyhow, I think we all share this. We'll see what happens when that first sign of trouble happens. I know, Trevor, you've talked about it. You're still concerned. The first time that trouble happens, are we going to see what we saw late in the season when Diggs was just frustrated, making gestures to Josh and just extremely unhappy? And then let's see here. Not much talk. Oh, there is much talk. Bates was getting all the reps today versus Torrance. So it's kind of like we've been saying, Jake. I don't know. Again, there's a lot of football. This is day 1 of training camp. When preseason starts, who knows? Torrance can get into those games and just be a wrecking ball. But as of right now, it definitely looks like Bates out of the gate. And maybe, like we said, Torrance somewhere after a few games gets that start at guard. But that's what I have on notes. Jake, let me throw it to you first. And anything you want to talk about specifically that I mentioned, or do you have any other notes that you'd like to add?
No, just the other note was that we signed another tight end, Jay Sternberger, who is also another former 3rd-round pick, believe it or not, just to add some competition at the tight end room there. So going to be interesting to see what happens between him and Quentin Morris. Quite honestly, I was very impressed with what Quentin Morris had to offer last year. I think, he's a really good athlete. He could play a little bit of H-back and kind of operate the same way that I think, Dalton Kincaid operates. So not going to say he's quite as fluid with his route running and maybe doesn't have as good of hands, but I think with the limited time that he had last year, he played pretty well for us. So it was interesting to see that we went ahead and signed another tight end. Obviously, you got to bring in camp bodies, bring in competition and whatnot, but that was just another thing I figured I would mention. But Trevor, man, what do you think? How you feeling right now? I know it's just training camp. It's just the first open practice for fans and whatnot, but did you catch anything from today that piqued your interest, or how you feeling?
Well, I'm happy that they're back. That's the main thing. The one thing I was just looking at from today was A was Damar Hamlin's re-entry back into the football world, and B then was how Stephon Diggs, he did do an interview, and fair play to him, how he will put behind what happened last year to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I do want to believe him, and maybe in the coming weeks I might read and see things that will make me believe that it's okay. Just inside, I have that little nagging twitch that if we hit a rough patch, and hopefully, according to my predictions, we won't, but if we do, that it might surface again, and that's the last thing we need. Because if you do hit a rough patch, that's when you need everyone to pull together more. Like, there's an awful lot of talent in our squad. It's you know, you find it very hard to pick a weak spot, and like yourself, Mike, with Von Miller, I don't think he'll be back until after the London game in week 6, and would come back when he's ready. But when he comes back, that's like signing a new player, and he was a beast before he got injured last year. And if you can bring him back when other guys are starting to tire because they'll have 6 games more played than him, you know, on the opposition's teams, he will run through them like a hot knife through butter. So Stephon Diggs was the one thing that stood out for me today. Damar Hamlin was a good thing that stood out for me today, and hopefully Von Miller will. If he comes back in week 1, brilliant. But if he's back, but it won't be. But if he's when he's ready, if it's week 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, then once he comes back, he's 100%. Let him do his thing.
Trevor, what's your thoughts on? Because there's been a lot of talk about the offensive line. Did we get good enough? Spencer Brown, you know, was one of the, you know, he was pretty bad last year at right tackle. Do you have any thoughts on that at all? I mean, it's only his 3rd year. I've kind of come to the conclusion, look, I mean, I'm just thinking about it. He really didn't start his first year. So he's a rookie playing. I think he got to start after week 3. I know a lot of people are hard on him. Then season 2, he's not able to train in the off season. He has back surgery. And take it from a guy who's had back surgery, it's no joke. So whatever it is, minor, major, I don't know, but it's your back. So he didn't have that off season, came in, and I guess some people could say, like, I mean, all right, use that excuse for the first few weeks, but at some point you should start seeing that back feel a little bit better. But again, he had some struggles, and he had an injury coming into the season. Here we are, week 3 or year 3 of him, and I think, you know, the Bills believe in him, Bean believes in him, and they see a lot more than we do. They know a lot more than we do. So I'm very hopeful. I'm very optimistic that we will see the Spencer Brown that the Bills think they're going to see. But what's your thoughts on that offensive line? As far as even Torrance, we were hoping to see him start day 1, but that doesn't look to be the case. But what's your thoughts?
Like the way I look at things is, yes, we do not see what goes on 99% of the time, you know, with the team itself. But because you could even take Gabe Davis in with Spencer. Both of them are coming off what you would call down years, and yes, Brandon Bean and Sean McDermott believes in both of them to put them back out again this year, and not go looking for replacements to say you're the man in this position, you're the man in this position, we believe in you. And if they're saying that, you have to go with them. You know, you have to believe them, because as much as the lads' futures are on the line as players, Brandon Bean and Sean McDermott's future is on the line as coach and general manager. And if they're putting out false information and these players don't deliver to what they hope, then people are just going to say, well, look at, you're saying X, Y, and Z could play and they can't, so you don't know what you're talking about, so out of here. No more than the players. Well, you didn't deliver, so you're out of here. So if they're going out saying that they believe in these guys and they're going to give these guys a chance, then we as fans have to go with them. And like for our offensive line, all I want them to do is protect Josh Allen. Whatever they have to do to stop the rushers getting through and give him his time to make his decisions, make lanes for the running backs, do the best they can. And we're not going to have a perfect team. There will be a weakness. There's a weakness in every team. And it's just to notice that weakness early and then replace it, whoever has to be replaced. And on the defensive line, you want the boys to be able to go through and get to that quarterback. And there was an awful lot of pressure on Ed Oliver last year. But Ed Oliver got an injury in the first week against the Rams. But if you watch the game before he got the injury against the Rams, he absolutely creamed the offensive line of the Rams. He went straight through them. If we can get that Ed Oliver back, and we can get Spencer Brown back to where they think and we think he should be, and you can get Gabe Davis back and a few other guys back, to play in at the level and don't have any injuries. They'll play at the level if they're injury free. But if they can, as you said about a back injury, Mike, back injury is it's life changing. And just because you're clear doesn't mean you're the same way as you were before you had the injury or the operation or treatment or whatever. It just means that you might be able to do things normally, but it doesn't mean you'll get back to where you were. So you have to give him this off season to build himself up, and then let him go and see what he's like when the season kicks off, and then judge him after that.
Yeah, I love that. Jake, you got any final thoughts here? We've had Trevor. It's 2:00 in the morning in Ireland. This man needs to get a little bit of rest. But final thoughts, Jake, and then final thoughts from Trevor. But start it off, Jake.
Yeah, no, final thoughts. Just going through, I just bring up some of the comments here. Obviously, appreciate you, Sean. Thank you for watching. I know you're probably not out there watching right now, but when you do watch this again, we appreciate your support. Brett, again, can't thank you enough. Saying I'm his best friend because I said I drink enough for the three of us. Freaking love that. Check out Brett's show too. He made a correction. He's going live at 9:30 tonight. He's going to be talking about the top 5 veterans who need a big training camp to make the Bills roster. So you don't want to miss that. Go Bills podcast. Follow him on every platform. He is fantastic. We appreciate the hell out of you, brother. Thank you so much for the support. Every single show, every single damn day. You're the man. And he's an Irishman as well. His last name is McDurphy, Trevor. So he's a fantastic Irishman. I hope he makes you proud. He's down in the state of Florida. Very interesting. But he's also a big Bills fan. Closing thoughts, honestly, just excited to have football back. It was great to open up my Instagram today and just see reels of every single NFL team practicing and doing their thing and, seeing these highlight reel catches and plays and everything. And, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with some of these free agents that are lingering around. You talked about like Zeke Elliott and, Delvin Cook. They still haven't signed with teams. So I'm curious to see what happens with them. Going to definitely be something I keep an eye on, of course. And guys, we are like a week away from the very first football game of the preseason. We have the Hall of Fame game coming up, which is just fantastic. So stay tuned for that. And then after that, the Bills are going to be starting to play too. So it's going to be awesome. And man, I can't wait. Football is coming and football is all the way back, baby.
Who's in that Hall of Fame game?
It's the, who is it? The Browns this year? Let me actually pull it up. I think it was
Browns and the Jets.
Browns and Jets, right? Yeah. Which is pretty cool. Good storyline. Elijah Moore.
Two of Trevor's favorite
Jet.
Teams are
right?
before he became a Bills fans.
Yeah. Yep. By the way, got to pull this comment up real quick because you know how I love Slippery Sam Martin.
Yeah.
Brett saying he had a big day. Not sure where you heard that information from, but Slippery Sam Martin. I mean, why not? He probably did have a monster day. First one out on the field, probably last one to leave. So just a fantastic guy. Not going to be seeing a whole lot of him this year, but when he's out there, he makes an impact.
Yeah. So Trevor, tell the folks where they can find you. And again, I've already said the link is in the description to go visit Trevor's channel, hit that subscribe button. And like Jake said, we have, we do a lot of shows with Go Bills podcast and Red, White, and Bills, both Sean and Brett. Get on over to their channels, hit that smash the subscribe button for them as well. But Trevor, where can the fans find you, man? And talk a little bit about the type of shows that you do.
Well, I'm on YouTube. I'm Irish Bills Mafia 6796, and I've just did my first Spotify podcast
Nice.
last night, and that's on Spotify, and it's hashtag Irish Bills Mafia. On Twitter, I have two Twitter channels, but they're both for the Buffalo Bills. I have Trev M76 and Bills_Irish. And on Instagram, I'm Irish Bills Mafia 23. And my shows, I'll usually talk about, will be a lot about Buffalo Bills, but I'll also talk NFL. I am an NFL fan as well as being a Buffalo Bills fan. I give my honest opinion. Sometimes it's wrong. Sometimes it mightn't be what you want to hear, but it's what I see. I'm not a stats guy. I believe by watching the game, you see what's happening, whether a guy is 6'6" or if he's 5'7". If he's out there, he's good enough to be out there, so he's there to do a job, and you can judge him on how he does his job by what you see. So when I look at a team, or if I look at a player or whatever, it's not how many yards he carried the ball, how many times he tackled, or how many times he threw the ball or got intercepted. It's just what you see in the game itself, and that's how I look at the NFL and why I enjoy the NFL.
I love that. So you're probably not a big fantasy football player then. I was going to ask you that question.
No. I tried it last year, and I failed miserably because I was going off players I knew and not looking at stats and stuff like that. And I've just decided I've tried it, and I'll just stay away from it and enjoy the NFL for what it is, because it was different, but it was a distraction because I was getting frustrated because I couldn't understand with the stats and the numbers and who was going to be good or who wasn't or whatever. So I just said I just watched the game and enjoyed the game itself.
I love that. You already got enough stress watching the Bills alone. You don't need added stress to that. I don't know why I do it to myself, because I'm in like 8 different leagues now, and it's insane. So maybe I should take a step back as well. I'm kind of on your train there, Trevor. I think I should just focus more on the Buffalo Bills and not so much on fantasy football as well. So I am with you on that.
Love it. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Jake, as always. We're going to leave you, since this is opening day, we're going to leave you with an outro, and hopefully this gets you even more excited. And thank you, guys, and go Bills.
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.
Bills Mafia, circling a wagon, you feel me? Nickel City Mafia, let's go!
Josh Allen, quarterback supreme, leading the Bills to the top of the league. Weapons by his side, and that defense hella mean. Buffalo's got a team that must be seen. I said Buffalo's got a team that must be seen. Yes. Come on. J17 leading the charge. Buffalo Bills on the rise. Passing game on point. Ain't no mirage. Happening right in your eyes. Ain't no surprise. Buffalo stacking the QB. Stephon Diggs holding in the pass. Group cars in having go deep. We're circling wagons. Just wait and see. From Wyoming to the NFL, Josh Allen's got the skills. Air raid, deep ball, touchdowns for real. Leading the Bills to playoff drills. Real time, this ain't no drill. Cold game, we're giving them chills. Check the score, now you know the deal.
Nickel City Mafia.